Okay. All right, cool. All right. Just before I get started, like I said, if you guys did the homework, you can right now at least feel somewhat comfortable calling yourself more like a programmer, right? Because these are programs that you're writing from scratch. Okay. But anyway, so this is a more than ask, I would say. This is almost an extra credit kind of answer because you're using a modulo to determine whether that is a number that we are interested in. So the pattern that was given was 10, 20, 30, and 40, and we missed out at 50, unfortunately. But again, if you did it this way, we're going to still take the answer. But again, this is more than what we ask. So I like the answer. Let me go into the next one. As you can see, excellent work. How are missing? Okay, that's fine. So Shantabai graded this, right? So again, I will, obviously, this is something that you could have observed as well because you're a QA after all, right? But I like the answer, so that's fine. So let's go into that. The next one, we're using a while loop in this case, and we are printing all of these values that are inside of an array. Name of the array is language, and it's a string array, okay? Now, the ask was to print all of them one by one, but go ahead and replace Go. Go is a fairly new language, and maybe we want to have more, a language that is more, I would say, older, or something that is being used more than just, what the Go is. So this is a new language and not a lot of people are using, at least in my view. So in this case, this is a good one. I see the output perfectly done. As you can see, using the replace method, this was done. So this is actually, again, done properly. What is the improper answer in this case is that instead of replace, the improper answer would be just go ahead and print all of them and then just put an if and else. And then instead of printing Go and print C++. That will be still an acceptable answer, at least in my view, but that is an inefficient way of writing code, right? So this will be a better, well thought out answer in my view. So excellent, again, full score. Let me go into the next one. So this is where, and I know that some of you guys probably will have some struggle with this one. I didn't put a lot of description for a good reason, guys, right? I wanted you to make a decision because you are the programmer. Depending on your understanding, you would write it. So everybody would have a slightly different answer, but again, there is more than one way to solve the problem. So as long as you solve the problem, we're gonna take that as an answer. So in this case, as you can see, we have, okay, let me see, right? Each loop string, okay, Selenium Cypress and QTP, okay. Where is the answer for this one? For each. Okay, this is it. Okay, so now we got the for each loop right here. And then we're printing it out based off of the number. So I'm just kind of trying to understand why there is a number involved. Using the announcement one line description for each. Okay, so this might be more than what we were asking, to be honest. The idea was to using a for each loop and then use maybe a case statement. So this is an if and else statement, right? And I can show you guys. In this case, we're using a expression, right? This is an expression. This is a string. Now, when you use if and else, it has to be a Boolean. As you can see, 20 is more than 18, 20 is more than 18. So this really is something that I would say would not be a desirable answer, because if, let's say, customer is typing Selenium, right? So it should have been like case. If case is equal to Selenium, then print Selenium means this. So the idea is that if I was using your website and I write, I want to know a little bit more about Selenium, you should be able to give me an answer about Selenium. In this case, what the customer is going to enter, right? So I'll see other people's answer on this case, but still you did the first half fine, right? So this question was pretty, I would say, ambiguous, and I did it in purpose. So we'll basically look into that. Still impressive work, because you are able to at least get this far. We still gave you a full score for that. Now with this one, write a Java program to print only banana from this array, and we're using index value. So make sure you guys follow the question, because sometime when we write a question, is the intention of it is that you learn something different, right? You learn something new. And let's see, is this where it is? I'm going to go ahead and try to access this real quick. So I guess some of your answers are here. Let me just go down. Number 4, number 3. Okay, for each. Okay, this was done already. Or orange and banana. So yeah, right there. So basically, okay, that's my mistake. Since the name of the variable shouldn't be car, it should be like fruits or something, right? So I just, okay, because we had a car variable before, but it's okay. So this is fine. This is a full score as well. So I go into the next one now. Okay, that's great. And then you have a perfect score on the quiz itself. So that's good. The quiz, the reason why I gave you guys the quiz is because, it's something that we covered already. We went over every single topic that there is. And this would be a good way for you to know exactly where you're lacking and go back and refresh your memory on that subject. So this was a good one. Okay, so now pretty satisfied with the answer for this, for Veronika's answer, and it's really impressive that you went this far with these questions. So let's go into the next person. So Arafat is 56, and again, right off the bat, this is fine. This is, like I said, this is inefficient, right? It's because you're writing tests again and again. So code duplication is there. You could have still say 20. You could have said 10 or 20 or 30 or 40, right? Instead of duplicating same line of code again and again, right? So that's why there was the point taken out, it seems like. Let me see if this one, no, this was, you got the full 15, so that's fine. Then you have this one where while loop needs to be used. So use while I language.length, and you are printing all of them out. But then you forgot to replace.
Yeah, I forgot to
Yeah.
to go. Yes.
Okay, so that's why you got 1 point taken out, right? Okay, so then we go into the next one. Like I said, guys, don't jump the gun, because it's okay to take your time, because it's all about you and your personality, and you're showing us who you are, because that's how you're going to be at work too. So imagine, like, at work you jump the gun right away and you submitted something that could have been improved, and you don't want people to look at you and thinking like, oh wow, okay, we can't trust his work, because it seems like all he's doing is spending few minutes and submitting things. So just keep that in mind. It's all about doing it right the first time. So take your time, read it, and understand it, and before you even submit. Okay, so this one you got 5 out of 5. So seems good to me. Cypress. Okay, so this is fine. This is fine, but again, you're using true and false. If you say x is equal to Selenium, what is the return type for this? If it's Selenium, what is the return type? If x is Selenium, what would be the return type for this condition? Arafat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what is the return type for this specific area? If I give you x is equal to selenium, what this should be?
So should be the string.
It's gonna be a string.
Automation tools.
Go to the automation tools. Yeah.
How is that gonna go to the automation tools? Automation tool is an array,
Array. Yes.
and I see that you're using a while
The
loop.
string X. Yeah.
Okay, and x is one of the element from the array, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the thing is, if I say, okay, let's look at the loop. The first time it's running in the loop, what happens to this section? What is the return type for this?
It's going back to the array.
What does it evaluate it to?
The selenium. Yeah.
So okay, so when you use double equal, what happens? All right, anybody other than Arafat, you guys wanna help him out? What happened here if you say x is equal to selenium and x is actually selenium?
It means like compare or equivalent to.
Okay, but what is the return type? Meaning like what happened if, okay, let's say you compared. What is the result of that?
Selenium automation browser. It will print that.
Where is the browser comes from? I don't see browser anywhere.
I think what would return is what he wrote down after string x.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Selenium automation browser.
No, but when you have if and else loop, right? Oh, let me ask Anika, right?
If
This evaluates first, right? And if this doesn't meet the satisfaction,
go to the
it
second. Go to
it
the
goes to the next one.
next
But
one.
my thing is, my question is what this evaluates to? What is the comparison and what is the result of this?
When you put double equals, that means equals to, right? So like x means is selenium. So now it's saying like x is selenium.
How is that x to selenium? Double equal is for comparing. If I say Anika is equal to Amit, what happens? What is my statement now evaluates to?
Anika is Amit.
It's true, right?
So Anika and Amit are the same person?
No.
Okay, so then what is the, if I say orange is equal to, compare, remember comparing, you're not replacing them. Orange is equal to apple. What is the result?
False.
False, that's it, Boolean, right? So this is what I wanted to hear because if and else takes Boolean, right? Meaning like this has to evaluate to either true or false. So when you wrote this, obviously this is correct. You're saying X is one of the element, we don't know which one. So as is, it will iterate through. The first time it goes, the first iteration, X becomes selenium, right? Now you're saying if this is equal to selenium, then do something. So the first time it will print this, right? The second iteration, it will say Cypress and it will print this. So if you ran it, you should have posted the result because I have a small problem with this. I wonder if this, I'm gonna actually copy it. So what's happening is that it might have an error here. Let me just see real quick because there
Is it showing that each like X would be false?
No, X is like, again, when you use while loop and you say string X.
I can share my screen for that.
Okay. Did you run it?
Yeah.
And it's running?
Yes, it's running. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's fine. It would, like in a real life, it would fail because right now they occupy the same. Because when you, okay, so let's look at the difference, right? Equal to versus equal, right? In Java, right? Because, okay. So the equal to operator tests whether two variables have the same reference, aka point to the same memory address. Okay. And then equal just checks if they are the same kind of the value. It checks for the value. So I would assume that you would use this. This is going to be more reliable in case the data is somewhere else and it could be coming from anywhere. You would have the error, right? You would not be able to run it. So you have to know between which one you want to use, basically this one or this one. But in your case, this is working because everything is in the same area, right? Okay, so now, okay, so let's go in there real quick. Okay, so this answer is not really what I wanted to see because yes, you did the for each loop perfect. First half of it is good, right? The second half would be a case statement because you're dealing with a string. So your choice of tool should be a case statement instead of using if and else, but still you solve the problem, right? This is still a answer that we were expecting. The result is going to be the same if you even use the case statement, but is it efficient? I don't think so, right? We're still doing the comparison. So this is still going to be a full score, at least in my view. So that's what you got. But just know that whenever you're using if and else and case statement, you have to see which one would be more efficient for you for that specific problem.
If you don't mind, could you please run it? I do want to see the outcomes. Because I think I did try to do the equal and then it
failed.
There was a lot. I went through so much.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. All right. Like I said, guys, you know, the struggle that you went through, it's something that I will say will really make you into a true programmer, right? And again, you're not going to be a programmer on the day one, right? So notice like your IDE telling you to do it this way. So let me go and run it just to see. And this is what I was kind of like, you know, kind of like not okay with because I thought that it would throw some sort of error. But if it didn't, it's because probably it's in the same exact memory location for all of them. So it didn't, but then the idea here is that it will tell you in the IDE, hey, you're using this, why don't you do it this way? You see, this is much better because you only care about the value. Do you care about where this Selenium belongs to? You know what I'm saying? So you just have to know which way to go. And sometimes it's better to listen to your IDE as well, because it gives you the right practices, the best practices, again, coding standards, right? So you want to also get some suggestion from your IDE itself. So if I run it now, it will give you the same exact result. So the reason why I even bring this up is because at some point when you write your automated tasks and you're using equal to and it's not working, and it's because why? You're pulling data from the UI object, which is in a separate memory location. It could be somewhere you know, in there. And then you have a string that is in another location. Even though the value is same, it will throw that error. So just know the difference between those, right? Equal to and equals. Okay. What does single equal means to you guys?
Assign the value.
Yeah.
Assignment, right? So if I say something like this, okay, I'm just going to type something here. String name. Oh goodness, and it doesn't work in my. Okay, name is equal to, let's say, Ruby, right? That means I'm saying I have a temporary variable, or I have a variable that I would like to assign a value to. So later when I call this variable, it will return this. Now, if I say this, immediately there is an error. So that's one of the good reason why you're using the IDE to begin with, because the IDE is telling you immediately you did something wrong. You cannot simply compare and create a variable at the same time. All right, this is your variable you're trying to create, but then you're comparing. So just keep that in mind. What is an assignment or what is comparison, because that's where you'll probably need to work on. All right, so the next one is loop through an array. And so write a program to print banana from an array. So this is the same one, and I think you got for this one, let me see. I don't know what's happening here, but I can see the answer right here. It's fine. Oh, okay, this is the feedback, sorry. So what you did, public void, this is fine. For loop is okay, and then you went through and you are printing 4, right? So what happened if you didn't know if it's a 4? And this is something that I guess like some of you guys are getting credit for using the index value. But there is another way to solve the problem. You can also compare the data, you can compare the value as well. So this is fine because this is exactly what we wanted to check. And plus is the loop itself. So this is fine. The next one is 27. This is basically again, okay, so if and else statement, you got the equal to. So in this case, equal to is fine because you're getting the same exact number. So it might work, but again, in the real world, if equal to doesn't work, you already know why, right? So let's just keep that in mind. Why is it not working? So this seems to be fine. And let's see the feedback. Credit score is missing with each statement on the output. So you didn't print any credit score and you hard coded some of these things. Let's see if you did that. No. Okay, so I see that credit score wasn't there. So that's why the point was taken out. Okay, this one, all right, this is where I was telling you about, right? So it says the exercise, I don't even know if this is part of the quiz that you're supposed to do, right? So I don't know why that screenshot was even there to begin with. So that's why you got the 0. So if you do happen to finish.
Actually, wait, isn't the, let me show you. Can you open it?
This
No.
one?
Yeah,
Okay, so opening your screenshot.
yeah. As in on the left side, all of them are supposed to say finish. That's what I did.
Ah, I see. No, but this is like, but where's the score though? Can you just update me with the score? I'll update it. I understand that you did this. It's just we were expecting to see a score, so that way we can give you appropriate
Okay.
for yeah. Okay, so that's good. So 2 people are already reviewed. Let's go to Zinnias. And you did fairly well, so I'm going to rush through your answers. So pretty much exactly what we wanted. Again, this is just keep in mind, this could be, if you're in an interview, they would say, okay, why are you writing this again and again and again? Why not combine all of them? So you could have easily say something like this. I'm going to take this and I'm going to like show you guys right here. Okay, and let me go ahead and so I don't need the package. I will just fix this so that way it works for me. Rename. Okay, so instead of like you see the first one, if this happens, then do this. I could just go ahead and remove all of them. All right, so I know some of you guys use modulus, right? I can say or I is equal to 20 or I is equal to 30 or I is equal to 40, right? Then that would be the same exact, it would basically would give you the same exact thing, right? So let's run it real quick. And
You have to put the double, what's that? Straight line between the I-10, I-20 and stuff like that.
yeah, so this is called, this is basically a equivalent to saying or in programming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you want to say or, this is called pipe, right? You're adding these pipes to it, right? So as you can see, test, and then obviously 50, we can add 50 if you guys like and want to. I'm gonna do it this way. I can do a shortcut, Command Option L will fix my code format. I go ahead and run this real quick. And now we are in business. All of these things are working perfectly. Okay, so this would be one way, but obviously it's people that use modulos, that's like next level, right? So you want to be at that level at some point. I didn't expect you guys to go that far, but that's great. Okay. Let's go into the next one. So I think you did get a full score for this, and everybody is, or at least should get full score, even if you've solved the problem one way or another. I'm just telling you there is a better way. Okay. All right, the next one, you got the full score. C++ needed to be added on the go, and what you did is, let's see, okay, while language system print out I. So this is where you just went ahead and replace. So you replace this ahead of time. This is more clever. But what if you didn't know what is the value of 5 is, right?
Yeah.
Because then what if Go is scrambled, meaning like this array is not sorted properly, and you don't have access to the array. You just know it's going to be a lot of information coming, and you don't know where the Go word is going to be. That's when your method of this method would not work. So in real life scenario, a array can have millions of elements, right? Like thousands. So let's say, just to be generous, let's say 2000 records on your array. So just like this, you have 2000 words and you're supposed to do something for few words, right? And now you have to actually physically open the array and look and see and count them all the way until you find the right index value and then do it. Okay. See the challenge here? You have to count. You might lose your count too, right?
Yeah.
So this is not a better, programming. This is called static programming, right? This is when you just basically write it. You know what you need to change. You just go ahead and change it instead of thinking more like, okay, what if, So you didn't write the good test cases in your mind. If you really did that, you would think about it. But again, this is still a good answer because I feel like, you still fulfilled what we needed, right? It's just that the method could have been a little bit better. So just keep that in mind. The next one, you lost the point. So I'll just see what happened. Got the feedback. Code is giving error, need to fix last else statement. So as you can see, your else actually is, I can tell you immediately, right? Else never needs a condition. Who can answer this question? If your else, why your else doesn't need a condition?
I know what's exactly happening here. I think it's
Okay,
just
so let's fix it. I'm gonna put it in here and you tell me what needs to be fixed and we can fix that.
yeah. For the else, I don't need the condition. I need to print system. I think when I copy it and I was fixing it at the same time. So I wanted to do like system.out.println next of the else.
Okay, so okay, like let's try to learn something, right? Guys, does it look good? This is where I'm gonna say I is equal to like something, whatever, right? False or something.
No.
Or like something, right? Let's say I is equal to QDP, whatever, right? Tell me why this is not good or why this is good.
Because
What we're
when we use else, it's like we don't need the condition. It will find all the condition in if, else if, then whatever is not in condition, then else the other way. Maybe.
right. So basically you're saying if this doesn't meet, that's the last one,
That's the last one.
And that's why if and else works with true and false. So if this is not true, if this is not true, and none of them are true, then this is the last option. It has to be the last, this one, right? So that's why I was kind of like telling you guys earlier about the if and else conditions. So, okay, so I'm just gonna say error, no, the condition. Conditions met, right? So something like that. So now your code is probably gonna be fine. If I just run it real quick, rename. Okay, so let's go and run this real quick. All right, so notice else never print out because we are working with a while loop, so it didn't even go out of loop, right? It didn't even go outside of loop. But what if I did something like this? I will add an element instead of QTP. I would say like robot, right? And now your else is gonna print out, right? But then you can also print out the I, right? So error, none of the condition met. Okay, so I can say something like class I, and then I say something like that is not in our known list, right? So let's see what happens now. All right, so you see error, none of the condition met, the robot is not in our known list, right? So this was your known list to begin with. So let's see how many points were taken out for this one. 4. Okay, yeah, 1. It's fine, right? You missed just a small thing here. I think we can leave with that. All right, so this is the next one, write a Java program to print only banana. Again, this is the same thing that I would say, yes, you guys are using the index value. As long as you did that, that's fine for me. And you got the perfect score. And then if I look at your grade for this, okay, this is the other one. Credit score. Okay, so you're just pulling it from here. It's equal to this. Okay.
I have a question in this.
Mhm.
So I struggled with this code like, I don't know how many hours, maybe 10, 12 hours. So
Okay.
here, in credit score, the length of my array is 750, 800, 3, 4, 5, 6 index number. And I have to print maybe more 7 statement. So every time I was trying to print, it was showing that out of index bound or something, the error. So I added index like 300, but I know I'm not satisfied with that because I tried to change my array to error list to add another index to the array, but I was not able to solve it. So I find an easy way to solve it.
Okay, so whenever you have array, index out of bound, I guess out of the, let's see, index out of, what was the index out of bounds exception? Okay, so this exception is basically happens when you are, let's say in your case, right? Let me go back real quick. If you would have used less than or equal to, you would probably not see that issue. So, okay, sorry, you're starting with 0. Okay, let's just analyze this, right? You're starting with 0. And then this is your, the first one is 0, right?
Okay, so
second one is 1. So you're missing 1 because when you say credit score length, it gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. but in reality, you have index from 0 to 5.
Okay, here is the question. You see the credit score 300. It was not in the question. I added it,
Mhm.
the last one.
Mhm.
So when
Is
I
because, so none of these, basically 300 is not included here, right?
no, if
And-
so
and-
300 I'm
and-
using for the else one. Anything else, unknown credit score, and try again.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, you're not comparing 300 with nothing.
No.
You're not comparing that with anything at all, right? So that's why you don't have
200
the
was
error.
not in our question, right?
Yeah. So your problem solved. Okay, let's solve this problem real quick, and then we can just kind of real time see what was the issue. I'm gonna bring it up in my IDE. Okay. So now right off the bat, I see there is a problem. Let's see. So when you see problem like this and you have an error, you should start counting how many opening and closing you have, meaning how many containers. So this is the one, and this is the other one. This is one, and this is this. And this is for that. I just want to see if they have their own closing, right? This and this, and then this one has its own, that's fine. This guy doesn't have anything, okay? So when you copied it, you probably missed one. Okay, so then immediately I can see my class. So class name and here has to be same, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and replace the name to the right one right there, question 5. Okay. So if I remove this one, okay, so that's what you're saying. If I go ahead and run this, and we're gonna see that error, and we want to see that error so we can fix it. What?
Here is the error. It's not printing anything else, unknown credit score, and try again, please.
Yeah, because, okay, which one is unknown credit score? Okay, so 560 is there, 690 is there, 900 is there, 800 is there, and 750 is there. You know, let's see what I gave you. I gave you 750, 800, 900, 690, and 560. But if in case, right, if there's any, so as long as you wrote it like this, you're fine.
Okay.
It's fine, right? The idea is that, you know, here for learning purposes, we're giving you exactly what's in the, you know, in an array. But in a real life scenario, this information would come from the user, and it could be anything, right? And that's when you would apply, this code will work perfectly. So this is fine. Yeah, this is fine as is. Okay. Now let's go into the next one. This is your score. And most of you guys, I've seen that you guys got like 25 out of 25. That's really good. And you know, 5 or 6 minutes, that's amazing. So you must have done it a couple of times, I believe. But that's great. You know, anything in terms of you know, getting perfect score. But again, like if you do a couple of times, that's totally fine, right? Okay, so that's good. Let's go into the next one. Guys, remember, if you have any question, feel free. This is the time you want to ask and say, hey, I didn't understand this, but I did it by researching. It's fine. So we can talk about it and explain. And this is a good opportunity for those who didn't do it, because you have until Friday to do this one. Okay, so Friday, that means you got almost like 3 days. And then we're gonna have new homework. Hopefully, I may give you guys a break. But for those who did the homework, I will give them extra credit homework. If they want to do it. Now, here is the this one. You got 16, Sonia. So this must be a good one. And again, like I said, this is what we're talking about efficiency wise. You could always make that a better one, right? So we have to make decisions when it comes to the program, and we try to do it the right way. Modulo would be the superior way, but then combining all of this condition into a single line is probably the most efficient way as well. So this is fine extra credit for the following instruction. So again, you actually read the question, so that's why you got that extra credit. So that's great. Then we have the next one where you are, let's see. So this is what you're doing the same thing, very similar work. So like I said, if this array had 1,000 element, right? So each one we call them element, right? So in this case, you have a string element inside of language array, and you have thousands of them, 1,000 of them, right? How do you know the index value? You'd have to manually go and read. So that defeats the purpose of the whole aspect of programming, because now you're doing manual work. But this is still an acceptable answer because you did it, you solved the problem. Then we go into the next one, which is Selenium, Cypress, Playwright, and Cucumber. We just want to add, I think, what was the print one line description? Okay. For each one, you're doing one line description. This is the same exact answer I'm going to tell you. This may not fail, but again, this is comparing with double equal is a risky business, because not only that you are comparing the value, you're also comparing the location of the specific object, right? So you want to use dot equal, so you can only compare the visible value, right? So just keep that in mind. This is working because everything in the same place. Okay. Then we
I
have
will
orange.
use that next time, because this is the first time I'm solving any kind of problem. So definitely I will use the equal one next time.
That's good. Like I said, some of you guys probably had fun doing it, right? And I'm not talking about like, oh, fun, meaning you just did it in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. You took 2 or 3 days. And at the end of the day, when you did it, I'm sure the feeling that you got is something that is priceless, right?
Yes.
So this is the type of feelings that you will get when you work as an automation engineer. Every time you do something, and on top of that, you're going to be the probably the technical person in your team, right? So when you do automation, you'll see there's a bunch of manual testers. You'll see more manual testers than automation. They probably have 1 or 2 automation guys because they don't need many of us. We can automate things. And you're going to see 10 people are manual, and they're looking at you like, hey, do you have some time to teach me this and teach me that, right? And you're going to say, yeah, sure. But the respect that you're going to see in their eyes is just, different. The other thing is you don't have a lot of work, right? We create automation because why? So we can run it. So our job is going to be maybe like 70% of the time running our test, right? So we created the automation already. We don't have to do this again and again. We're there to replace repeated work, right? To minimize the effort it takes to do manual testing. So that's why manual testers, they work full 8 hours, and we do maybe a couple hours because our job is easy because we made it easy. Okay. Let's go into the next one. Again, you got the full score for this. And let's see, this is public rated. Okay, why is this X mark? Okay. Okay, but you got the full score. You use the index value, that's fine. That's what we want to see. This is also fine. You're printing the credit score, and then you're printing what the message as well. The one thing that I would suggest, because this is kind of like manual work at this point, because you have one at a time, this could have been literally 2 lines of code if you use a loop. Right, so in your case, this would replace with I. So every time it hits I, it would do something, right? So you could have done it in like 2 to 3 lines of code, but you still got a point because problem is solved, right? Then we will look at your score in there. So 25, perfect. Okay, so let's go into Noor, and then yeah, still a good, like I said, anything more than 60 tells me that you're basically up for the challenge. You are taking the challenge, and this is going to be fine for you. You'll be fine, basically. Now, same thing, you did this, that's great. Like, this is what I wanted to see initially. But again, like I said, people that did Modulo, I think you guys deserve extra credit, and I'll try to go back and give you some extra couple of points. Then you have 4 points for this one. I just want to see what it is. Go should be skipped with C++. This is something that you missed right here. So you got 1 point taken away. And then you have
I
0
didn't get
point
time
for,
to finish it. That's why.
sorry.
I
Say it
didn't get the
again.
time to finish it.
Oh, you didn't have the time to finish. Okay, okay. Yeah, but you know, you had a good start right here. Pretty good start, you know. So it's after you finish the first one, you would probably get the hang of it, right? That was the idea. Okay, so that's fine. And then we get to go into the next one where I don't see any answer. So this was a 0. This was also a 0. And then this is, you did this one. Okay, you use the loop, so that's good, right? So this was a good answer. And then I'm gonna give you the same advice, double equal. Again, just be careful. And then you have this one, we got 39, so maybe you missed 1 or 2 points. Let's see. Yeah, you missed 3 points. So that's fine. 96 still a good score. Okay. Okay, let's go to
Joel,
Shazad.
can you go back to the double equal? You keep saying that. Can you just explain that one more time?
Yeah, sure. So especially in Java, right? It is not with other languages like Python, or you use Ruby or JavaScript. JavaScript has triple equal. Double equal is not recommended. Now, when you use double equal right here, you're saying that not only that you want to compare the value, you also want to compare the location of this value, right? So in a real world, when you compare two different things, you might be pulling data from UI, right? You might be pulling data from the browser, and then you have local data, and you want to compare those. Double equal is going to fail, right? It's going to say that, okay, it's not the same. It's going to return false. But when you use dot equal, in this case, if you only care to compare the value, what 750, you want to compare with 750 to 750. So again, like easier way to put it, if you're comparing apple to apple, but then you don't care about the basket, which basket the apple comes from, then you want to use dot equal. If you care about the basket, which basket, red basket, green basket, whatever is the case, that's when you want to go ahead and use the equal, double equal. So yes, still we're going to be using this. It's just that we need to know when we should use it. As a tester, I can tell you majority of our time, we don't need the double equal because we always compare things from two different locations, right? So it's good to use the dot equal. So that's why I'm telling you guys, even if you look at the IDE, it tells you like, hey, why don't you use, it gives you suggestions right away by looking at your code. So just keep that in mind. All right, so the last question, okay, I think we covered that already. Yeah, I think we covered this one already. Okay, so let's go into the last one, I think, Shazad. So you got a 16, seems like you did pretty well. I can see you're given that extra points because again, and this is really crazy what you did, right? Because not only that you used the modulos, you also observed what we were doing, like what we asked, and you have a separate else statement, if an else statement to say if it's 50, don't worry about it, just print it, right? So the fact that you did this very, based on exactly what we asked is great, even though we could have added 50 here. I think that was our mistake. But again, that's extra credit right there for you. I'm going to put one more, to be honest. I really like that approach. Save that. Okay, then we have a perfect score for this one. So the efficiency, guys, those who did the homework, you can kind of see like you versus somebody else. And it's not just because, oh, you want to feel like, oh man, I haven't done this way. No, this is where you have the learning situation and say, okay, looks like I wrote the code, but it could have been better. And that's what you want to take in. Because the first time when you write code at work and you push your code for review, and there might be 1 or 2 review before it goes to the main repository. Somebody's going to review and your code and say, okay, you didn't do this correctly, you didn't do that correctly. What you want to do next is that you want to say, hey, thanks for the feedback. Let me update that. That should be your approach right away. Instead of saying, no, I did it right. No, I'm not going to fix it. This is how it's working. It's working already. Why do you want it to change this? So you will see sometime as a QA engineer, our code gets reviewed by a developer, even their managers. And, we want to be mindful about their feedbacks, and we want to say, okay, oh, I see now. Because otherwise, where is the learning? Where is the efficiency? Because you already using what you already know, but anything beyond your knowledge, you don't know, you're not using it. So when somebody gives you suggestion, when you write code, make sure at work, you are saying, thanks. Thank you for the feedback, and I will go ahead and update and right away follow up with him and say, hey, I updated based on your suggestion. Can you just check? All right. And it can be anybody. It can be even a junior QA. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you'll see junior QA who actually has computer science degree, and he's probably did internship and became permanent with the company. And you'll see his knowledge level is far superior than some of the QA engineers that are senior. And it's because his mindset is different, right? He's more efficient with his code, right? And it happened to, few of my team so far, right? Where I find junior people are really, sometimes they're really efficient with what they're doing. And it's because they work the most too. They get assignment by managers more because they want them to learn more and things like that. Okay, so this is also perfect score. Same thing. You have a comparison here. You're saying go. And if that is the case, then you want to print out this. So this is still fine. Some people actually just went ahead and replaced the go value ahead of time. But at least now I know, like, your code is going to work regardless the order in which these items are displaying. So go could be the first one, and your code still will work. Okay. All right. So now let's look at the next one. This is for just printing out a little bit of description, and you're using a for each loop. And this looks good to me. You got 5, that's good. Okay. You got perfect score for this one as well. You're using index value. And then is this one, the last one, okay. Okay, so credit score is missing, so you probably were taking off a few points there. Not a big deal. And then 37, so you may have missed a few questions there. So let's take a look at the score. Right, it's taking some time. All right, good, 92. All right, guys, so this was your homework, and I'm really again proud of most of you guys that did the homework, and also will be proud as soon as the rest of you guys finish. I am not gonna hold anybody accountable for not doing the homework. I know this was a difficult one, and if you can finish this before Friday, you're still in the same category as everybody else. Like I said, some people probably didn't have the time, and some people had the time. So we definitely understand that. So I would say do your homework, this one. And then for those who did it, I'm going to give you guys probably something fun to do. And again, it's not something that you'll be required to do. So if you really want something to be displayed on the next class and your work that you did, then you should do it. So we can talk about it. And, obviously I'm going to mention your name that you did that, and it'll be a good thing. Okay, so let's go to W3 real quick. And JS, okay, not JS, Java. All right, so let's look at the basics, and we're supposed to go into more on the advanced level by now. But before we do that, I know that we covered all of these, and you guys also did the quiz for all of these topics. Is there anything here that I can just clarify before I jump into methods and then classes?
I think we're good.
Okay, so Shazad is good. Anybody else?
I'm good too.
Okay. All right, so that's good. Like these are, and I cannot explain, I guess I cannot stress enough about these ones because these are basic building block of Java, which will help you write your program. And if you don't have the correct understanding, then the problem will only continue with you, right? So no matter where you go, you're still gonna have that kind of mindset where you're confused which one to use, which one not to use. So it's always good for you to make sure that you are, creating, or you are at least writing a program, knowing what you're writing. The other thing is that you're probably going to read other people's code too, so it'll be easier for you to read. So today's topic is going to be method, Java method parameters and overloading, and scope and recursion. Recursion. Okay. Now, the first thing is method. Why do we need it? Why do we need a method? Anybody here ever heard of function, right? When we say function, okay, this function does this or whatever. If you ever went to college for, let's say, any engineering, any of the engineering subject, then you would probably know what function is, because even in electrical engineering or mechanical engineering, there are tools that you have used in your first year that probably allows you to create functions and make simulation of objects and so on, right? Now, a method is a block of code which only runs when it's called. Okay, so now with that level of understanding, let me just create a new. Oh, okay, there we go, Java class. So let's run methods, learning. Okay, let it finish. I wonder why my computer gets slow sometimes. So now the question here is about method, and we're going to learn method. And again, we need the main method here, because then it will run. Now, if I create a method here and I never call the method, do you think it's going to run? I created inside of main method, but I never called it. Let's create a method first, right? But before that, let's talk about method, right? What is a method and why do we create it? Method is a block of code, and you create that because maybe you can use this somewhere else at some point. If you create a useful piece of code and you feel like somebody else can get benefit out of that code, you will create a method so people can actually use it. When you say something like, let's say, especially in Java, for example, some of you guys used, let's see, question 5, length, right? Length is a method, right? To count how many element inside of your array. But can you count yourself without having the length method to do the work? Yes or no? Can you do it, and how can you do it? Tell me. You're just counting numbers of element inside of an array without using length. Can you do it?
Yes.
Yes, you can, right? All you have to do is use a for loop and then just count the index value and then add 1 to it, right? Because it starts from 0. Now, I would say in this case, this method we're using because we don't want to reinvent any wheels, right? Otherwise, we would have to write everything from scratch. There are some leverage that a programming language gives you, such as length, and there are many more methods that you can, at least Java offers you. And we're gonna probably use some of them as we do coding challenge. But just like that, method is something that you will also create, because at work, maybe you created something that will do something amazing. You don't want to write this code again and again, and you don't want people to copy that code and use it for themselves. You want them to just call it, right? So instead of writing code and making code duplication, it's better to create a code give it a nice name, and say, okay, this name, if you call it, it does something for you. So method will help you to remove code duplication in your project, meaning you don't have to copy paste things. If you know this is usable, you should create a method. If you know you need this specific line of code and it's already there, just create a method. So we're going to do it this way. You can pass data into a method and as a known parameter into a method. So that means not only that you can create a method, you can also pass information to a method and it will act differently based on what information you provided. Okay. Method are used to perform certain action. So typically a function should be isolated, meaning it should do something for you and it should independently do something for you. It shouldn't depend on other things. And then method, why do we use it? Is reusable code. We make our code reusable, define code once and use it many times. Reusability is the key here, because what is the biggest challenge a programmer faces? Or what is the biggest problem a team faces in development, right? In writing code, is that maintaining their code. Being able to have their code working at all times is the challenge. Now, if you have a lot of duplicate code, if you have a lot of code in general, because you don't have methods, then you have challenge to maintain the code. Therefore, your code is going to be really, really buggy, right? It will have bugs. And that's one of the things that you want to keep in mind. And the structure of method is this, right? So void means, so you're going to basically have method name. So it could be your methods, and inside of your main, you got the method name like this. And then we have static. Static means that method belongs to the main class and not an object of the main class. And then you have void. Void means that this method does not have any return value. But if it does have a return value, we're gonna declare that. We're gonna say it has string return, it has array return, whatever is the case, right? We will go ahead and do it that way. So the first thing first, let's create a method. And so static void, where is it? My method right here. So we're gonna say static void, and we give it a name. So let's say I create a method that will do something. It takes something and it does something for me. What can it be? Let's say, okay, let's just say I give it 2 numbers, and it gives me the sum of 2 numbers, basically, right? So let's just say that. Or maybe it just gives me sum of all the numbers that I gave. It doesn't have to be, right? So I'm going to say sum. So I'm creating a method called sum, right? And method name in general should be start with the lowercase, and you can put uppercase after the first word. So that is called camel facing, and you guys probably, so sum of num, let's just say that. I mean, it says a funny name, but okay. So now my method takes integer. Okay, so this is called parameter, right? So I'm going to put some parameters in there. So this method will not work without any sort of value, because if I'm going to put some words in it, I may want to, I may want to take the numbers before I can do anything, right? So I can say int, and it should be num, right? And let's see what's the deal here. Insert expected expression. Okay. All right, and then we got this first number, right? So let's take 2 instead of doing an array. So int num a, and then int num b, right? So it just takes 2 different number as a parameter. So the return type is basically going to, instead of returning, it's just going to print it for me. System dot out dot println. I'm going to fix my code in a bit. I and see why this is, because sometimes my IDE is slow and it shows an error and it goes away quickly. So now I'm gonna say num a, sorry, num dash a plus num dash b, and this is my return, right? This is the total. And let's do something like this. Oh goodness, okay, wait for my computer to. Total number is this, okay? So far so good. Expression expected. We did that already. No, what's this doing? Public void, I will do public. I'll make it public actually. Public void. Okay, something wrong with this specific class. Oh, okay. I'm probably it's my fault. Okay. I'm putting a method inside of the main class, main method, right? Because that is the problem. Okay. Now, notice I'm missing something here. Okay. Probably better this way. Num plus num. Okay, so now that we have this, guys, this method sum of two number. If I run this, what's gonna happen? Let's start making. Let's do some guessing game. What's gonna happen, and then reason, right? Give me at least educated guess, right? So that way we can something that you can reason with, like what you understand in this case from the last homework. So if I run this, what's gonna happen? Come on, guys.
So
Okay. Nothing is gonna happen, or something is gonna happen. Error or something, because first thing you want to know that it's not inside of main, right?
yes.
Okay.
That,
Now, so that
the
means,
right.
yeah, so that means you see a method is a block of code which runs only when it is called. Are we calling it? Are we calling this method? So yes or no question, guys, and then just give me a reason.
No.
We're not calling it, right? Because this is where you defined it first, right? You define the method, but you're not calling it. So let's see, how do we call a method? So we created the method, fine, and our method takes two number. So obviously you see method can take parameters. So this is your parameters, right? Parameters needs to have data types as well. So you need to actually define the data types in your parameter. So just keep that in mind. And so that's what we did. The next thing is it says call a method. So if you want to call a method inside a main, call method just like this, right? You can just call the name because that's how it works, right? So as you can see, in your main method, all you have to do is call this guy because it already is inside of your main, right? So this could be up or down. I think it shouldn't make a big difference, but let's see. And now, as you can see, like in the example, they put it up, I put it down, shouldn't be a problem. because we're able to call the method. Now, why is this red? You know, just think about the intention of this method on the to begin with, if you wanna. Okay, now I'm gonna give you a hint. Why is this red?
Integer.
Is it missing the static void, my method?
We have that right here. You see, static void main. We see inside of the main method. But I'm following the tutorial, right? The guide. And it says if you can just go ahead and call the name. So I know I did that right. I just called the name of the method.
So
But what am I?
the static void or public void before the method?
No, the whole idea about the declaration of the method is that we already added here,
The method.
you know, yeah, public, private, static, whatever you want to call. Done. These are different access type. So for now, at least we're creating public. Now, if this is the method that I created, and then here's giving me red, and then I have a hint that is given by IntelliJ, right? Which is your friend at this point, is saying, hey, aren't you forgetting something? You created this method to compare or to actually add two different numbers. Where are the numbers?
The parameter.
Right? You're missing the parameters at this point. So if you say number A and number B, so the first thing is 10 is number A. As you can see, it just kind of tells you right away. And then maybe like 50 is the second number, right? And then it says make the method static, right? So I'm gonna have to make this static to make sure that I can call it right there, right? Static means that it belongs to the main class and not a object of the main class. So we're gonna do public as well later on, but let's learn about the static first, okay? So now if I run it, what should I see? What do you think I will see? Okay, let's run it.
60.
Okay. The total number is 60. Okay. So now let's say somewhere in your code, you need this method. You can call it as many times as you need, and it will do the same work instead of writing this over and over and over again. Okay. But what if you have something complex? Instead of like just taking two number, it could be like really doing something, you know, that requires 1 or 2 page worth of code. And then you give it a name and you simply call it here. So we're going to be creating a lot of methods. A programmer will not be a good programmer unless he creates a reusable block of code, unless he uses the page object model. And in order for you to be efficient with your code and being able to have highly reusable code, method is essential for you to learn. And there are different kind of access modifiers that we're going to learn. We have static, something that we're learning. Void means it doesn't have any return. It just does the work, right? It doesn't have any return. It just prints it out for you. That's it. But what if I was to make this a return? So what do you think the return type of this method should be? So if I have this is a string or this is an integer, the return type.
Integer.
Integer, how's this integer? Because remember, you're taking an integer and you're adding it to a string, and it automatically becomes a string. So now if that is the case, I can say I want to return this. And now it automatically have a red, and it says like, you are trying to make this return, but then it's void, right? So now I can say, okay, I can make this as a return. So all I have to do is change that and static string. All I have to say is static string. So let's let the IntelliJ do it for me. And that's it. So see, static string. So now if I run it, what do you think is going to happen? Come on, guys, let's start guessing. Do you think it's going to print or it's not going to print?
Total number will be 60.
You think it's going to happen the same thing?
It should, yeah.
Okay, you want to bet?
No.
The next class, you bring a coffee for me if you want to bet this. But all right. Let's go ahead and run it and see what really happens. Oh wow, exit code 0. Exit code 0 basically is it's a Unix, basically in Unix way to tell you that everything went fine. Everything is fine, nothing is wrong with your code. But then why it didn't print?
Because there is no print method like system.out.println.
Exactly. So now if I know the return type of sum is a string, and I can say string result is equal to this, and I can say something like this: system dot out dot print ln, and I can do result. Now let's do another bet. Whoever wants to do it. What is going to happen now? Is it going to print or is it not going to print?
It will print.
It should
It
print.
will print. Okay. Let's run it and see. There we go. It is printing, right? So it is same as, so what we just did, instead of printing it right here on the method, we just collecting the result. And then later we're applying our println to say, okay, I want this result to print it here. Just keep in mind, now, whenever we do system.out.println, it's only for you as a developer, only for us for debugging purposes. It has no real value on the programming side. So if you do become a developer, at some point, you're going to see that we only use this because we want to see for ourselves what's really happening. Otherwise, I could have done something. So I could have like say, okay, if something like this, if result is equal to something, or result is more than something, right? If result is more than like, let's say, well, okay, this is going to give us 60, right? So I can say if result is more than 60, or okay, okay, more than, let's say, 40, right? And now you can see, oh, never mind. This is a string. I forgot myself, right? The whole thing is going to be a string. So I can say if result dot contains, okay, it contains, let's say, the 60, for example, because this is still considered as the whole thing as a string, and I can say print this, right? So I can do something else after and content is a method, right? Like I said, this method is doing something for you. So this method that you just created, sum of num, basically numbers, it can be used by any of your coworkers, and it doesn't have to be created in the same exact class. It can be somewhere else, right? And they can still call it, and it's called inheritance. So we're going to learn about the inheritance really as soon as we pass through methods. Any question about initially how to create a method and being able to call the method? Okay, so looks like crystal clear. So let's go into the next one. The next one is just a parameter of the method. So we're talking about not only being able to create a method, and we did the parameter already along with the method. So we don't have to spend too much time here in this lesson, but parameter can be passed to the method. Sorry, information can be passed to the methods as a parameter, and parameter acts as a variable inside the method. So when you pass on information to a method, it thinks it's a variable, and then it deals with the data that you're passing in. parameters are specified after the method name inside of the parentheses. Yeah, so this is not a bracket, it's a parenthesis. I know some of us call that bracket at some point. You can add as many as parameters as you want, just a comma separator. So you can have 10, 20, 30 parameters if you like, but best practices, guys. You cannot just go ahead and create 50 parameters, right? Nobody's going to remember, right? So it's better you just have a limit, mental limit, I would say. The following example has the method that takes a parameter, for example, name, right? So string parameter takes name, and then it does something with it, right? So let's just write one more method and then go ahead and kind of and see like the example. I think this example is pretty cool. So we're going to create another method and try to do this. Static string as a return, or maybe print. You know what? I'll just do void and then print, and we can do this thing later. So I can say, depending on somebody's name, so we will calculate how many characters there is, and if they have longer name, we just give them something different, right? So name something, right? Name greeting. Name greeting, and I'm just going to say string is the parameter, and then we're going to take name. So this method will take a name and then do some calculation and then greet them in a very different way. So we'll just do that now. And so the first thing first, we're going to say, let's say int count char character, and I'm going to say name dot length. Oh my god, sorry, what did I do? Okay. LENGTH. Okay. So how do I know this is int? Because if I go ahead and try to apply, this is for people that cannot remember sometimes. So length gives me return int, so I know I have to put int there. Okay. Now that's the thing. So now I would say, depending on the numbers of character, I want to tell them something, right? So let's say if count character is more than okay, count character is equal to 0. Okay, if count character is less than 1, let's say less than 1, for example, it cannot be just one character, but less than 1, then we want something. Else if count character is, so it can be a negative, I don't know, it cannot be a negative because you're passing on a string, but in case, right? So this is just for safety. So if count character is more than 3, so that's a nice, so we're gonna say something like system dot out dot print ln, because if it's a 3 character, it's got to be a cute name, right? Because it's a very small name, so it could be a cute name. So we can just give them feedback like you. So something like this, hey, and then probably her, whoever it is, name, and then plus this, you got a unique and cute name, unique and how do I spell it? UNIQUE, right? Unique name, and it's pretty sweet, right? For example, right? Okay, so that's one way to give somebody this, because this could be a pet name. Like usually pet names are smaller. So this is just you, maybe your website in the very beginning when people sign on and you give them a feedback or kind of like acknowledge them or something if you're building a website or something like that. So the next one could be, let's see, the next one, if it's count more than, okay, it's gotta be more than 5 character. But then, you know, this one is going to be automatically, right? Automatically 3 is, if it's more than 3, this 2 is going to become true at the same time. So I'm going to say, and character is less than. Okay, I'm going to say more than or equal to, maybe less, more than or equal to, right? All right, you guys got to help me out a little bit here, because if it doesn't make sense, just call out, because I'm just writing this. And okay, so the next one is, let's say, more than 9, and this is more than or equal to. More than or equal to 9. We have to add another condition for sure, I know. So we're going to run it, and then we're going to go ahead and do that. So somebody who has more than 5, right? And they should be like, I guess, instead of unique, okay, you got a common name, and it's pretty, and it's great, right? Something, I don't know, I'm just writing whatever I can, like nothing. Might be nonsense, but we just want to see the output, right? So we'll be fine. So you got a unique name, okay, got a very long name, and it must be very important, right? Something like that, I don't know. So we got 3 conditions. Anything else other than that we can say, right? So maybe it's like more than 10 or whatever is the case. You got an extremely extremely long name, and try to, you know, have a nickname or something, nickname for your friends. All right, something like that. Obviously now we have to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and call. And in this case, like this method, we're going to probably leave it as is. We're not going to touch that. We're just going to apply this method, and then we're going to see what happens, right? So this is yours. So in this case, the first one, again, see, it is expecting a string. So we have to put string. So the first one is Joe. Second one is Joanna, Johana, I believe. Third one is maybe whatever, I don't know, like I'm just gonna put some random.
Joseph.
Joshe,
Jonathan.
Jonathan. So it is definitely almost 9 digits. I'm gonna put something that is out of the boundary. So this is where you can probably think about your boundary case situation, right? We learned about. So now I'm gonna run this, and I'm not even sure entirely if I have to put a second one. So I'm just gonna go ahead and run it, and I'm gonna, based on the situation, I'm gonna improve my code. So that's something that I would recommend. You run your code and see where is the problem that you're seeing. So notice, like, says, hey, Joe, you got an extremely long name, and try to have nickname for your friends. This was not expected, right? So we're gonna have to fix that, right? Then we have, hey, Johanna, you got a unique name and it's pretty sweet. So this one is supposed to work with 3, but it's working with more than, obviously, right? So we probably need to improve what we are looking at here. So So this is your first if and else. And as you can see that I have no message for the first one. So this is where probably I messed up and nobody corrected me, guys, come on. Okay, so now here, because it's less than 1, I may say, hey, whatever. I can say, sorry, it's very short name, something like that. Okay, so let's run it one more time and see what is the problem. So that's more like it, but again, it's reading the opposite. So if it's less than 1, obviously we didn't have any, so it didn't miss anything, right? So count if it's less than 1. So none of them is true, so it went to the next one. So we're saying if it's more than or equal to 3, then read this, right? So this one is more than, but not equal to 3, right? But it is more than 3, so it satisfies 1, right? So we need to have some sort of parameter because we cannot just say, okay, start from 3. This is where the problem is, right? We can say if it's more than 3, but it's not less than. Counter is not, okay. We have to have like a boundary, right? For each statement that we're saying at this point, right? So let's say the first one, it has to be more than 3, but not less than 2. And we're saying not, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and make this. Okay. How many people know this is what this is? So whatever is the statement inside here, it will make that if the statement evaluates to false, is gonna make it into true. This is basically flip. How many people played Uno? Anyone played Uno?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys know the reverse card that you just handed over and you get everything
Yeah.
from the other person? Okay,
Mhm.
so this is your reverse card right here. This is almost like not, right? Okay, so then the next one is, so we're just improving our logic here because if we don't have a boundary, for example, if it's more than 3, and if you're saying more than 5, this guy satisfies both, right? So that's where we have a problem. So we're saying it's gotta be okay yeah, we have to give it a boundary. So okay, so we said more than 3 and should not be more than 3 and 4, right? So it's got to be between a number, right? So that way we can kind of have, so we can say 2, and if the number is between 2 and 3, then we want to have this message unique, right? So I don't think I should have the negative thing right here. So if the counter is, let's say, more than or equal to 3, and counter is yeah, I think the negative was fine. I just took it out for no reason. More than 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this real quick. Okay. Goodness, we messed up real bad with the logic, so we're gonna have to fix this. But the main idea here is that notice how many times I'm calling this with different name, right? This is the reusability that we wanted to see with our parameters based on these lessons. But we have to also fix our logic. So some of you guys, I didn't have enough coffee, but some of you guys here, start giving me answer for the first one. If I want to do between 2 and 3 character, how would you put that? Because right here, when you, okay, so when you say, okay, so let's start with the bigger number. I think that's better, right? So counter is more than, let's say we had the first one's a 5 and less than 9. Okay, makes sense now. This one counter is more than 3 because that's the maximum on the last one. And then we want to do less than 5, right? So this one was 3. So this one here, I have to say if the counter is more than 2, but then less than 3. I gotta probably say less than or equal to 3. That way it includes 3, but at this point it doesn't really bother me. So let's go ahead and, okay. Sounds good. Okay, what's I'm holding up here? 1 second. So if it's less than 1, so we getting, sorry, short name. Okay, so do we get this? We don't get that. So this is where it's finished. I'll see if this is where it starts. I just want to make sure that I have the right. So this is where it ends. This is where it starts. Now somehow everything looked flipped up for us, right? So you got extremely long name, which is fine, right? So this seems like it's doing the right thing. It is more than 5, but then it's not less than 9, right? So it's doing the right thing. Jonathan is, and we can also do probably character count to make sure. So it says you got a common name. So we got extremely long name. Where is our, so Jonathan shouldn't get extremely long name, right? It went to else for some reason. So the character for Jonathan is probably, and that's where we're gonna probably need the more than or equal to, less than or equal to, because some of the answers are following the number in between. You
His
guys
is
see the
9.
problem? Yeah. So you see less than, we're saying it has to be less than 9. But we have actually did not include the 9. That's where the problem is, right? So we can say less than or equal to, and this will solve the problem for Jonathan. But the problem is, again, we don't want to just solve the problem for just one person, right? We want to solve a problem for everything. So that's when you're gonna have to use less than and more than, less than or equal to more wisely. But at least in our example here, the main goal was to have a reusable method that you can call more than once whenever you need it. So notice like the parameters are always different and it does something with it after. So now you can see how you can make your code more reusable and take a specific parameter, right? So you can actually take a string parameter, you can take integer, you can take other parameters as well, double and other data types. So keep that in mind. Okay, so now you guys are okay with creating methods with parameters, right? Any questions on this before I go into the next? Okay, looks like we are good. Let's go into the next one. The next one is method overloading. And again, guys, today I might, I'm gonna basically give you guys a break after we finish the overloading and the scope. And then when we come back, we're gonna do something fun, like a coding challenge, like actual interview coding challenge together. And we're gonna end the day, but keep in mind the homework that you guys missed, some of you guys, and you have the opportunity to actually make it up. So just keep that in mind. Okay, method overloading. So method overloading is multiple method can have the same name with different parameter. And we already did that, but again, so for example, we're not talking about different data. We're talking about different data type as well. So you can have a method, as you can see, same method, but this method takes integer value. It also takes a float, and it also takes a double, right? The same exact method takes multiple type of parameter, and you can actually make that happen to make your code even more reusable, okay? And so this is an example that we're going to look into. And as you can see that this initial parameters were integer that it took. And then we have the same exact method that is taking double. And then let's see. Here's the same two, as you can see, the same exact method with different parameters. So you can actually name the method the same, but then their data types could be different, you see. So this guy works with int, right? But then it's the same method. This guy works with double, which is a data type, but then the method name is same. So when you say method overloading is basically when you have the same method, same name of the method that can take different parameters, right? And you basically have to create, in your case, two different method, but with the same name. So that way it can work with both situations. Any question about method overloading? Okay, so let's look at the method overloading. So basically, if I look at this, for example, and it gives me a string data type, I can have the same exact method. And I can say that I don't want int, I want string, right? So I can say string, and I take string as well, right? So string, right? So now, as you can see, this method is not being used right now, but this one will go ahead and give me, instead of like, let's say, I'll say, because it's, oh, no, what did I do? Okay. So string 1 plus string 2, because they're string, we can just put them together and return. So I can actually now use this, and I can say something like this. This string, putting a string together, the response, I guess the return will also be string. So a result for, let's say, result 1 is equal to this. Sum of 2. So the first one is string. Okay. The second one also a string. And now all I have to do is basically put some sort of string, right? So first part, my second, or maybe do hello world. That will be cool to look at, right? Hello. And then I'm gonna put a space right there intentionally. Okay. World. Right. So that's it. Now if I go ahead and print it, because this, again, it's not being printed right now. Result number 1. I can go ahead and see my result down here. So again, today you learned another tool for you to use in your programming to make your code more reusable, right? To make sure that you are able to use reuse the code instead of copying and pasting. But not only you can do that, you can also do it efficiently by using method overloading. Okay. So just know what method overloading is. Method overloading is part of the OOP concept, and we're going to learn more OOP concept as we go down to the next, which is classes DAS. Okay. But when we come to here, I may just not go too deeper. I will go into like polymorphism, you know, maybe inheritance, but we need to also get started with automation. So soon, I would say in the next 2 class, you're gonna see we're literally writing code and telling the browser what to do, and the browser will listen to you. You know, you write your code and you tell browser to do something and it'll do it for you. You don't have to go and click and here and there, right? So I think this is going to be exciting when we do that. But in order for us to be at that level, we need to finish this Java and make sure that we are really good with it to go into that direction. So now that we see how the method overloading works, notice the same method, but then different type of parameters, okay? Both have the same string type, but they take different kind of parameters at this point. Okay, any question on the overloading, guys? All right, let's go into scope. Maybe we can finish the scope, and then after that, we can come back and do some coding challenges. All right, you know what? When you come back, we'll do the next 2 topic, and then go into a interview coding challenge. I would say take yourself a 15 minutes break. We don't have a lot of time. I do want to let you guys go early. So when you come back, we're going to do a coding challenge that is for actual interview, right? And we'll do it together, and then we'll call it a day. And I will prepare something for those who actually did the homework. And this will be something supposed to be more fun. But for those who didn't do it, just finish your homework, and you can also do this one if you have the time. Okay, so I'll see you guys at exactly at 10:15. So come back at 10:15 and we're gonna continue the class. All right, guys. Hopefully this was a nice little break for some of you guys. Use the time to kind of walk around, get your mind to the right level. All right. So before we jump into the last 2, here is a problem that you guys can think about and that we want to solve using your Java program. So for example, fix the following sentence using Java program. Java love I, right? So we want to put it in the right order, which is I love Java. The other thing that you want to do, the requirement for this is create a method. So then others can use it. Number 1 thing is like people can call it. Number 2 is that the parameters is going to be a string. So it'll take a string parameter. But it can be anything. And it will fix the order into reverse. So the idea is that we're getting a reversed string and we're fixing it basically. Okay. So this is the 2, I guess, requirement for you to fix this challenge. Now I'm going to take each of you guys with opinion and knowing, and I'm going to keep this on the side with all the tools that you have. I want you to give me a logic on how you will solve the problem. You don't have to write the code. You don't have to think about the code. You can just tell me, this is what I will do to fix this string to the right order. Okay, so who wants to go first?
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
Sure. Let's try.
I guess just flip the words I and Java.
Okay, so you want this to be on this side.
Yeah.
And you want this one to be this side. But I guess the assumptions that you have to make is that the string that you're getting is reversed and you just want to fix it to the correct order, right?
Yeah.
So if that is the case, I mean, what will you do first? Let's write your thoughts, right? The first thing with your program. And then here you have a bunch of tools from Java for you to use. So you take the string and then what do you do next?
The Java switch, how, I don't know.
Okay. Now think
Can
about
you-
it because, go ahead, Amit.
Can you do like either like a replace or like a reverse word like class?
Dot reverse is a method from Java, and we don't want to use that. Let's take that out of the, equation. We don't want to. We want to avoid using that basically. And you also don't want to break the word. This is a word, this is a word, and this is also a word, right? We don't want to break them. We want to keep the word as is, but we will still want to reverse the order of these words. So to put it simply, we just want to reverse the sentence at this point, and the sentence contains multiple words. And it can be anything, right? So we can have more words. The idea is that they should work with any string and fix that into the correct order.
Can you split it?
So you want to use split, right? What is the return type for split? What is the return data? What happens when you do split? What kind of data do you get back? Data structure.
Sure.
You get char characters. It depends how you split. I mean, I don't think split gives you characters, honestly. The split gives you something else. If you really think about it, the split. So let's look at it together. I'm going to create a new class for us to solve this problem. And we're going to think it through to make sure that you guys understand. Because the next homework is going to be more like problem solving, and I'll give you the real life problem. And you are not going to find anything online as an example. So this one is word. It's called word reverse. This is a actual, coding challenge from an interview. So if you can kind of understand this will give you a pretty good confidence. Okay, so I'll take the main method and put it in here.
So in our last class, we do string reverse. Is that the same thing?
So last class we did string reverse.
Yeah.
But right now we were like, okay, see how we were able to do string reverse before, but I want to do a sentence reverse at this point, right? Because I have a string, for example, let's say string
Should be reverse word.
let's see, words are equal to, is this the way it is? Yeah, Java love I, yeah, okay. And I just want to fix this to the correct order at this point, right? Now, the requirement was that I want to work with any. So if this changes to anything else, this should be able to fix that order instead of breaking the word itself. The word should be the same. Okay. Otherwise, it gets too easy, right? Because the last time we did this, the first thing first, somebody says split, we can use split, right? Now, if you get the words and you want to split it into multiple sections, so you can see split. And a split gives you what? A string array. Whenever you see this thing right here, okay, the square, that means you're getting a string array in return. Now, if you want to split it, right, you can choose to split it at some point. You cannot just simply, so it takes parameters. Split method takes a parameter, and you have to kind of tell it where do you want to split, right? So now if I want to split this, obviously it's going to be a string with, okay, so it's going to be a string array, right? So I'm going to say, I'm going to give it a name, splitted, S-P-L-I-T-T-E-D, splitted words, because that's what I'm going to do, split using a split So this guy right here, I guess, SPLITT, split it. So now that I'm going to split this, I need to use a parameter, because if I hover over it, it says cannot resolve method split. It should have some sort of parameter. It should have int, it should have a string. It works with both. Remember, method overriding. So now I'm going to say wherever there is a space, okay, I want to split. Okay, so I just gave it a single space. And I said I'm gonna split it at that point. And obviously this is complaining because it's an array. So the first thing I can do, I can probably use a while loop, right? And I can say this guy right here. So I'm gonna say string my words, let's say word from splitted words. This is an array. And then I'm just gonna print it initially to see what's happening, right? So system.out println, and let's go ahead and print word itself and see what happens one by one. And then we go from there. We still need to create a method and all that stuff, but for now, because we want to make sure that they are properly sliced, right? So this guy is sliced. You see now they're properly sliced. Each word are by themselves. So now I can do whatever I want with it. So now we can actually apply the reversed, for loop. Remember we did that, but I don't want to do that today. I may want to do something different. I'm going to build a new string outside of my loop, and I'm going to just take one item at a time and place it there. So now let's say string, and I can say something like, let's say this is the result, right? Is equal to nothing. For now it's nothing. And I'm going to now say this result is equal to, so I'm going to go ahead and now assign the value, the first value, right, is equal to. The first time I assign the value, it has to be, let's say, the actual result, right? So right now, the first time it runs, it has nothing. So result, and then I can say plus word, right? And it will build this string. Right, so let's see what happens there. I don't even know. Let's go ahead and do that. Make any sense, guys? We didn't print it anywhere, right? So I'm going to print it outside. System.out.println. I'm gonna go ahead and print the results. And obviously it might just combine them because we don't have any space in between. So we can add a space later. Okay, so I see Java love I. So actually it has to be word plus result. Sorry. That's where I got confused. Okay, let's see. So word plus the whatever is in there, right? So result. So let's go ahead and run it now. So far so good, right? But then we want to add back the space, right? We can go ahead and do it here, right here. Plus, even if I do like, okay, I think I have to add this right here. Even if I do it like this, and this is again, the challenge is to keep the things intact. And I put a single space back because remember we splitted the space before. There we go. So finally we have this. This is probably like one way to solve it, but if you Google the same problem, you're gonna see, this is my way, right? Obviously. But if you Google it, you'll see there are other ways, and there might be even efficient way to do it because they're using string builder. But I didn't want to use the string builder in this case, right? So we'll talk about that. I think string builder is something that is new to you guys, but it still solved my problem, right? I took this and this happened. Now I want to create this as a method and return it. So I can just go ahead and say return words instead. So return result. A return result. And the next thing I gotta do is that this is a string. So I'm gonna say string. Oh, sorry, what am I doing? Okay, so I gotta take this out and then create a method outside. So it could be this. I have to say public or static void a static string word rev method. So we're creating a method just like this one right here. I just wanna, oh, my computer for a second. Just like the static void, right? And then string words, this, right? That's what we're doing. Open it up and we have to put all of this inside. Just gonna go ahead and fix the formatting. So these words are gonna be replaced by, we don't want to put this right here. So now we don't even need this in here. And that's it. Simply is that. So now in my main, I can go ahead and say word reverse and I can go ahead and print it, right? So I can say string. I know I'm going to get string. Answer 1 is equal to word reversed. And I will go ahead and provide my string inside of it. Love. Okay, Java love I or something. That was the first one. And then I will put as a test, I'm gonna basically go ahead and put another parameter that is I love Java. So that way I can actually see that it works in both ways. Okay, and I'm gonna put an explanation and right here so we can actually see these are different. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so what just happened, guys? Nothing happened, right? What did I do wrong? Who can tell me what did I do wrong here? You got 5 seconds.
In code is
Print
running.
command is missing.
What is missing? Sorry. This is the reusable code, right? And all I'm doing is calling my method so I can use it. But it's not printing it, right? It's also not giving me any error. See, it's exit code 0 means everything is
The
fine.
code is running, just you have to type the system dot
Print command is missing.
println and
Exactly. Okay, this is just to make sure that I get some feedback from you guys, right? I know it's a pretty simple thing. All right, answer 2. Now let's run it one more time. Okay, so now that it worked, as you can see, the second one right here. What if I have a need to call this method from another class? You know, how do I do that? This belongs here, but I want to call it from another class. Can I do it? I have another, maybe another like Java class somewhere that I would like to call from. Can we do it?
Java class.
We should, right? We should. Otherwise, it becomes like really hectic, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't give you enough flexibility, right? If you're not able to call that somewhere else, you already wrote the code. Why not? I can call it here, you know. So let's see, where can we call method learning? So maybe we'll call it here somewhere, right? Or I'll just create a new method, okay? Just to like have less confusion. I'm gonna say calling a method. Okay, so we're calling a method. Let's have our main, because without it, obviously we can see anything, right? We cannot print it. So now that we have this, we can actually do something, and I'm gonna just go beyond a topic. I'm gonna skip all this, but we're gonna come back to it. But just to prove my point, I'll give you guys a lesson on the inheritance. So Java inheritance allows you to do that. So it is possible to inherit attribute of a method from one class to another. We group the inheritance concept in two categories: subclass, which is child. The class is inherit from another class, and superclass is the parent. The class is being inherited from, right? So wherever you are inheriting from is the superclass. To inherit from a class, use extends keyword. So I'm telling you how to use this tool and introducing you to this tool, so that way you can use in the future when we are doing automation. There is no room for writing static code. So in this case, this example, right, we're going to implement onto our case, right? It says we have to use extend. So go ahead and use extends here, because we would like to use that method. So I'm going to say extend word reverse. So this is the method. Sorry, this is the class that we go ahead and extends from. Once I do that, then I can create the object. The next thing is creating an object of that class. So I'm going to go ahead and say create my object. The first thing, the way that you create your object, you will go ahead and give it a name. So you're going to say, in this case, I'm going to give it a lowercase. You know what I'm saying? So this is uppercase, this is lowercase. I'm just going to, it's very similar name is equal to new. So you have to use the new keyword, and you have to use the class name. Okay. And that's it. Okay. So now you have created this. I can give this name to whatever I want. I can say this is a, I don't know, give me anything, right? I can actually go ahead and say this is solution, just to make sure that this doesn't come into some sort of confusion. So now that I extended and I have my object created, I can now call any method from that class. So I can say solution dot, and let's see what they have in there, right? That I can call, right? I think it's called word reverse. We're getting, I think, word rev. Word rev. Okay, cannot say that. Okay, so that is static, right? So we need to make sure that our class is actually public, right? Otherwise you cannot call. So remember the access modifier, guys, static and other things. Now you can say public, because otherwise you're not going to be able to go ahead and share this method somewhere else. And since you're calling this public, now this is upset. Now it wants to make it static, or you want to wrap it around. Let's see, alternative solution, make it non-static, right? Make the main non-static. So you see our main is static. So in this case, we can change our main. So this guy is not upset. But I'm going to go ahead and remove the main, because we basically don't need the main here, because this method is going to be our helper class, meaning we're just going to go ahead and use these whenever we want to, and we don't want to do anything in the main. We don't want any printout here. Okay. So now that we can go back and solution dot, and I can say word rev, I can actually call it here, and I can put whatever I want. So let's say Java That's one. I'm gonna use another one. And then this is gonna give you the similar result. You know what I'm saying? The other class having main method there doesn't make sense, right? Because you're creating that word reverse class that has a method that can do something for you. You can just call it. Why do you need a main method here? You don't need to execute anything here. You just want this to be executed somewhere else. And that's exactly what we did. We just executed here now. I can go ahead and run it. It will not show me anything. So I can do system.out.println. Just like before, right? And this is called inheritance. So today, not only that you learn how to create a method and method overloading and what is method overloading, you also learn how to do inheritance. Okay, so that way you can reuse your code as much as possible. You can create this code somewhere and leave it and then say, I want to use it. I want to go ahead and run this just to show you guys that it actually works. And then, okay, is it running? Let's see, yeah, it did. Okay. Yeah, so it's running. So now that you have a little bit of exposure what static means, and you probably have a little bit of exposure to public, right? Public means you're able to call from other places, other classes, otherwise you are not going to be able to call it. And if you make it public, then you're not able to call from the main method because you cannot have a public method inside of the main class, right? You can always create a class and then call it from superclass, not a problem. But that's where the issue is, right? So once we go through this again, these are the topics, but the next class, what we're going to cover is scope, recursion, and then we're going to go into method and attribute. But if you guys need a review on this, just let me know. We can probably do a quick review before we go into more advanced topics. If most of you guys got 25 out of 25, so I'm very comfortable actually to conclude Java within the next two class, right? But that doesn't mean your Java programming is over. You don't do any programming. That only means that now we're able to use Java to build something more useful. We're going to actually put it to work. Okay, so this is you learning ABCs of Java to make sure that you have everything that you need and you don't really, you know, feel like you really didn't give enough time with Java itself before start to program how to automate tests, right? So we're going to put it to work very soon within the next two classes. My advice to you guys is that so far, you know, no matter who says what, if you want to be a really good QA automation expert, and it doesn't matter which tools you want to have expertise in, you have to know a programming language, and Java could be the best one that you want to know, right? So if you master Java, then learning on automation, you're going to have so much fun, so much. Imagine like you wrote a code and it automatically opened up a browser and it went to your, let's say, maybe Facebook and started logging in for you, started writing a message for you, started writing a status for you. Imagine that is being done automatically for you, okay? And that's what we are going to do exactly when everybody's ready with Java. So I do need people to put some self-effort from your side, because again, programming, if I really want to spend time, like a year teaching you guys Java, I can, right? Because that's how big this topic is. It's huge. I can't cover everything possibly. And especially going into test automation, we don't really need everything in the very beginning, right? So as we start to automate tests, as we are actually putting this to work, we're going to learn more. We're going to actually learn more ways to become more efficient with our code. But at least you need to know the basic ABCs of Java, so that way we can get started on writing test automation. Hopefully that makes sense, because don't expect to become an expert on Java with like few classes. You know, we only did like maybe 3 or 4 classes so far. But we're gonna now use what we learn to do automation, which is gonna concrete your knowledge more on these tools that you're gonna be able to use for your program. And that's exactly what you're gonna need for work, right? So far, if you're able to capture all of the, you know, topics that we talked about and you're able to do the homework, I think you're gonna be fine at work. You know, you're also gonna be fine, but we can do even better, right? So that's why I need you guys to focus. Things are gonna get a little bit more harder and you'll probably feel like you're alone, but keep in mind, that's how most of the engineer feels, right? They're alone, isolated, and they have to fix the problem. And that's why they're engineers, right? So it does take a little bit of initiative, a little bit of effort from your side to get where we want to get to. And my advice to you guys is that just hang on to the rope. Don't let go for now. It's going to be a little bit more bumpy, and soon we're going to be fine. Just like how you finished the homework and you felt really satisfied. That's how you will exactly going to feel once we're done and we're looking for jobs, right? We're now, not only that you'll be proud of yourself, you'll probably also be really, really comfortable talking to recruiters and telling them what you know already and how you can help them. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Keep up the good work, and the next class I will probably try to wrap up with most of the topics, and not everything that I'll cover. I'll cover things that we need for our test automation, right? And that's what we're gonna do. And then once we get into test automation, we can do more Java, right? Because we're now using it for work at this point. All right, any question, guys, before we finish the day? Okay, just one thing is that it's for those who really, really love challenges. I would say there's something called HackerRank. One second, guys, I'm getting it. All right, sorry about that. So for those who want to challenge yourself a little bit, there is few things that you can do that I can recommend. There's 2 places that I really think will enhance your skill sets on Java. The first one is codeacademy.com. So if you go to codeacademy.com and sign up, and you can go to the catalog right after that. You don't have to buy anything, and go to Java. And once you go to Java, then they have the beginner 16 lesson that if you can finish, that will give you a pretty good idea, because and the way you do it, basically, it matters too. So they have on the left side, they have lessons and explains what you're about to do. On the right side, you have the output, just like how when you run things, it shows up here. And in the middle, you write the code, right? So they kind of make it easy for you guys to not do it in IntelliJ, but do it in their platform for the learning purposes. So that's one of my recommendation. If you feel like you have the time and you want to just go ahead and make your knowledge more concrete, you can do this. And again, 16 lessons is free, but if you want to go further, that's totally fine. You can buy the pro version. It's really, really up to you. The next one that I would like to recommend is, this is more like if you want to, it's called HackerRank. So HackerRank is a tool that many companies uses in order to see your knowledge level, right? So here, if you sign up with your username and everything, and you start to solve the problem, you actually creating a profile as well, right? So these companies, along with many other companies, will actually be able to see what you have been doing. So if somebody wants to hire, and they can actually go and look into your profile in HackerRank to say, oh, look like he solved this many problems, right? And so you do get a little bit of highlights, right? You do get a little bit of leverage and help because you did solve the problem and you get some sort of ranking here for solving those problems. And you can also show off, right? Meaning like if you did enough and you have enough items to show off, you can actually put it in your resume and say, my HackerRank username is this, look me up, right? Similar to that, if you are writing this code and you're pushing it, at the end, we're gonna push it to GitHub, guys, right? And you will have GitHub profile. So keep all your code like this into a single place. So once you ready to push, this is gonna be like almost like a portfolio where you're showing that you did this kind of work. You know, you will have this into your GitHub profile, and we're gonna have the profile in your resume to make sure that you they know exactly who they're hiring. They know exactly who's, you know, what their skill set is. But most importantly, again, optional, right? Don't think this is a mandatory thing, but I'm just telling you, if you happen to be the person who want to be more like, okay, you know what, I'll go ahead and do this to be proactive, then you can create a profile here. Lastly, this is for maybe at work, right? Right. So if you happen to be getting, let's say you got a job somehow and you constantly struggle a little bit and you do need a little bit of push help, then you want to create another account here. So when you create an account here and you ask a question, somebody will answer within 30 minutes at max. But don't ask them to do your work. You know, that's when they're gonna probably write you things like, oh, what are you doing? You know, so just go ahead and create a profile if you need to, and then say, hey, I'm doing this and I'm stuck here. And they will probably help you move forward. And this is good for work because now at work, sometimes even to reach me is going to take you 4 to 5 hours. You have to wait until it's done, end of the day, whatever is the case. But you can actually sit at work and actually ask this question to the community, and they will answer it for you. This is totally permissible at work, right? Because at work, everybody knows what Stack Overflow is, right? You can even talk about it. Just say, hi, I wrote a question in Stack Overflow because we are facing this problem. And you can even bring it to work and say, well, I have a specific problem and I couldn't solve it because this and that challenge. And I wrote a question. This is a more like Selenium related questions. And I'm waiting for the answer at this point. And that's it. And that is totally fine at work as well. But you don't have to tell them you use this. It's really, really up to you. But you can tell them also it's not a big deal. Everybody uses this. So these are the few things that you can actually already be using to become more proactive with your coding skills. All right. With that said, guys, watch out for some homeworks. Like I said, those who didn't do, please do it. And then the new homework is going to be coding challenge, more like coding challenge instead of learning how to do array and things like that. You will be able to make a decision on what to use to make it more efficient. So I might just give you 1 or 2 coding challenge. We do have quite of some time until Saturday, so I think it's good to keep our practice going. So watch out for the homework later on today or maybe tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Have a good night.
Okay, you too.